I'm Melanie Perry, founder of Zillionaire Enterprises and the author of All About the Benjamins and Jonathan and Geneva, The Adventures of Zillionaire Kids, and you're watching the Chundria Show.
Financial matters can cause overwhelming stress in our lives, and the lack of resources and options can truly increase the burden. My special guest is the founder of Zillionaire Enterprises, and today she and I discuss transforming your relationship with money. Welcome to the show, Melanie Perry.
Thank you for having me.
How are you
Glad to be
today?
here. I'm doing good.
Good. You're doing amazing work. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
I'm glad to be here.
Okay, let's dive right in. Tell me about yourself and your business, Zillionaire?
Zillionaire Enterprises.
Zillionaire Enterprises. I love that. Tell me more about it.
Well, I actually kind of stumbled into Zillionaire Enterprises. I started off as a certified financial planner, doing that for 20 years, and then I began to realize that a lot of people didn't know some of the fundamental basics about money, people looking like you and me.
Right.
And so I said, okay, well, let me work on that piece and help break some of this information down, because it's not as scary and as challenging as people like to think it is. And then I wrote a book, and then the book turned into some workshops, and the workshops turned into online programs, and it kind of evolved from there. And Zillionaire Enterprise came from that.
Amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I love how selfless you are with giving back to people. Like, you know, you have the information, and now you want to make sure people that look like you and I and at large have those tools and those resources. So that's awesome. What inspired you to become such an advocate? How did you get into financial planning?
Well, my degree is in quantitative economics.
Oh, she's smart.
So it's always been about the numbers.
Okay.
And when I graduated, I just jumped right into the industry. And what I liked about what I did is being able to help people with their money, with their finances. And I think as people of color, this is kind of like the last stage of what we need to really affect change in our lives and in the lives of others. And so that was kind of the beginning phases of it. And as long as we can understand how money works on a basic fundamental level, to just know how to save, know where to save, and then to know how to invest and where to invest, and then take that to another level and get to a point where you've got really sustainable wealth. And at that point of sustainable wealth is when you're really able to make an impact. Because most of my clients, most of the people that I meet want to do something. They want to start a nonprofit. I want to help this person.
They have all these ideas,
it's like, oh my gosh,
but they have to go back to the money.
Where's the money coming from?
Right.
And so the thought is, okay, well, I'll do a nonprofit. I'll get the government grants and this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay. But when we look at how people are able to establish foundations and establish legacies that last for years, how do we get into that fold, right? And so the reason why, again, I started Zillionaire Enterprises is to help people understand this whole money flow and how it actually all works. And when we get to a point where we're able to monetize our God-given talents and be able to use this capitalistic model, not as an evil thing, but as something that we can use that's going to provide value, then you can make an excessive amount of money. And you don't have to buy cars, you don't have to buy shoes, you don't have to buy, all these material things. But you can actually establish a private foundation and have that as a part of your legacy. And whatever cause, whatever objective that you want to fulfill can be used can be fulfilled through your private foundation perpetually.
What was, at the time that you started this, what was your relationship with money?
Unique to what I hear people's relationship is, quite honestly. Because I had a good relationship. My parents taught me about the basics.
Okay.
When I started out in college, I had, my savings account, checking account, and I paid my bills on time.
So mom and dad sat you down.
We had
this is how you pay things.
about
This is
it.
how you save.
I even had an investment account.
Okay.
I had an inheritance.
Shout out to mom and dad. That's great.
I was blessed and I was fortunate. My parents grew up with real estate because my grandfather taught my dad about real estate. So it wasn't a foreign concept, by any means. But what I did recognize and understand is that I was one of few that had that kind of experience and relationship
generational
with money.
knowledge too. That's awesome. Wow. Many people share a lack of confidence when it comes to financial matters. So how do you encourage your clients to transform their relationship with money? Because it can be a daunting experience to think about it, worry about it, not feel like you don't have enough?
Yeah.
How do you break that?
I got to tell you, 80% of what I do is emotional finance.
Oh.
That's the term.
Oh.
And so,
okay.
In helping people understand how to just kind of let those fears and anxieties about your money and finances kind of dissipate is to really recognize your purpose. When you know your purpose, then that's going to drive you to focus on what you need to do in order to make that happen. Mm-hmm. So the very first thing I talk to people about is, why are you here? What do you want to do? And it could be, I want to be the best mom I want to be, or it could be, I want to build a $1 million, $1 trillion enterprise.
Right.
I mean, whatever it is, be it, quote, big or small, when you have clarity of your purpose, then that frames your mindset of how you can go about achieving those particular goals.
It's all in our minds.
It's everything, right? Everything starts with the mind.
It's all in our minds, and it affects our bank accounts. Mm-hmm. My goodness. Wow. How does one person convert negative thoughts about money into positive ones? Like, you're here before, like, when they can't get to you yet, because I know this is your business, this is expertise, but like, if somebody's at home and somewhere away, how do they, what's that initial step? Because I know it's easier said than done to just go change your mind. 80% of it is about money. Like, how can I really, I guess maybe identifying like why you feel like that about money? Because you grew up with parents who felt like, let me teach you about money. But for the person who did not grow up with parents who taught them about money or credit or savings, whatnot, how do they start where they are?
I think it relates to what I shared before about purpose, but I think it also has to do with really, I just got to go back to purpose. You know, if you're able to, really have an understanding of what you're here for and what you're trying to, accomplish in this world, then your anxieties about it, I mean, in many of the things that we want to do, if you want to lose weight, you want to eat healthier, you've got to have the money to go to the store and make those things happen, right? And so, if you have had a challenging experience earlier on with finances, I think in addition to assigning your purpose, it could also be just recognizing that happened then. Today's a brand new day. Right. And I can start fresh. Right here and now.
Start now. I like that.
Start right here and now.
I like that. Even that mindset.
You don't have to carry that baggage along with you.
Let that go and
leave it at the curb.
I love that. What's an ideal money mindset to have when you constantly have that sinking feeling that you don't have enough? I know we talked about purpose, so we're gonna lay that down again. Is it truly possible for anyone to save?
Oh, definitely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and so when I come across a person that's like, well, I'm starting my business, or I just graduated from college and I don't have the money, or I've got 20 kids and I'm spending money out. Right. You can save $1.
You can save $1.
If you get in the habit, and see, there's a 52-week challenge that sometimes I suggest for
It comes around every December.
Yeah, and so it starts off literally saving $1 a week.
Right.
And then you double that every single week to the point where I believe at the end
it's like $1,200 or something like that, right?
Something like that, right? Somewhere between $1,200 and $2,000 you end up saving. And so if you just, the fact of the matter is that if you just get in the habit of being consistent, being consistent with whatever it is. So people who are entrepreneurs have variable income, right? So like, I can't save $1 amount. Right. Don't save $1 amount. Save a percentage. Right. Tell yourself you're going to start saving 1%, 2%, 5%, 20%, whatever it is. Be consistent with that. And every time something comes in, you close the deal, save 1% of that and be consistent. And it can start in an envelope. It doesn't have to start in the bank. It can start in an envelope, and you don't touch that envelope because that envelope has a clear purpose, right? And so you just start with that 1%, you start with that $1, and then next thing you know, you open up that envelope and you've got multiple dollars in there.
Multiple dollars.
You've got multiple
that you didn't even
assets.
miss. I'm pretty sure you didn't even miss it.
And that's the other, I'm glad you brought that up because that's the other critical piece is a lot of things just out of sight, out of mind. And when you develop that discipline, you develop that focus and that purpose, then you realize, oh my gosh, I can do this. This is not as hard as I was making it out to be.
And then the next year you could double it up or triple it up, and then now once you see the return on it. I like that goal. I like that goal a lot. As our debts continue to rise, for some of us, what's the best strategy to cut it down without becoming so overwhelmed? Like simple money hacks outside of the $1 a day. That's a good one. Are there any other money hacks that you can suggest to change people's relationship with money?
Yeah, so debts a big booger, as I like to say. It is. It's a beast. And a lot of people's like, before I save, I got to get rid of my debt first. Well, I suggest for people to do two things. One, save and dump your debt at the same time. And in the process of dumping your debt, prioritize it, right? Because it can be overwhelming and daunting. You got all this debt out here. It's like, where do you start? So start by just putting it in order of priority. And there's many processes to make that happen. There's a process that I use that helps you to prioritize that. And when you prioritize it, just focus on that first debt. Just make sure that you're paying the minimum payments on everything else, but on that first debt, pay the minimum and a little bit extra.
Okay.
And then keep doing that until you're able to get to the end. And
a lot faster, though.
A lot
that
faster.
Little bit over 12, 24, 36, et cetera, weeks will make a difference.
It definitely accelerates it. But the other caveat is that you're saving at the same time. Because what I have found is that people get so focused on trying to get rid of that debt monster that by the time they get rid of the debt, something happens in life, which will be inevitable, and then we got to swipe that card again. And then we're back to
where we
the
were.
process.
Pay the
so
cards down, then you use the card.
And it's that roller coaster ride.
All too well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so how do you stop that cycle from happening? And the way you stop that is by dumping debt and saving.
Dumping debt and
the
saving.
saving.
No, I've never heard anybody say that. So that's pretty.
It's
profound.
critical. Otherwise, you're back and forth.
And now you're overwhelmed and you're stressed and you have anxiety.
And it's the same thing, and it's 3 years later, and you haven't gotten anywhere.
All bad.
You know?
Then they need to talk to you.
Yes.
Now, oftentimes we're not educated about money by our parents. We talked about this and left to figure it out as adults. Shout out to your mom and dad again. How do we break the cycle and equip our youth with a money mindset early on?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that question because that's a similar question that was posed to me by a principal at Marcus Garvey School.
Okay.
And she said, I want you to teach the babies. Because I presented to her, a proposal to teach middle school. Because I'm thinking that's a pretty decent age to start. She's like, no, we're going to start younger than that.
Teach them early?
Really early. So she wanted me to start with first graders.
Wow.
Yeah. And exactly. I'm like, okay, so how am I going to do that, right? And so she's like, you're smart, you'll figure it out. And so I'm like, okay.
You're like, you're right.
Yeah. So I started watching Sesame Street now with purpose because I was trying to understand I love Elmo, but I was trying to understand how do kids learn and make it entertaining and fun. And so I was just observing how Sesame Street laid it out. And so I was like, storytelling. So I began to teach the kids at Marcus Garvey School here in Los Angeles how money works through the art of storytelling. And I was actually flabbergasted over, number one, how much these little kids know. So parents out there, they are listening, they are paying attention to you, they know more than you might think they know about whatever you're talking about, whether it's good financial management or not so good financial management.
So the class was received well by the students and obviously
the
staff?
It was surprisingly received very well. I incorporated songs, I incorporated games.
You wrote songs?
I wrote songs, I
cool.
did, yeah. And some of them went off well and some of them didn't, but the idea was to keep it fun and lively and entertaining and engaging. And again, there's a study that shows that as long as a kid is about 3 years old, they can begin to understand some financial concepts.
Okay.
The thing is, or the trick, if you will, is to just talk to them on their level. So naturally, you can't talk about sophisticated stocks, bonds, mutual funds. It's like, what is that? But if you just talk about, okay, here's the thing. This is the critical piece. So if kids know how to spend mommy and daddy's money, they can learn how to invest mommy and daddy's money, or their, money, right? And that was one of the big things I learned in educating them is that I asked the first question on the first day that I began teaching, what do you know about money? What's one thing you know about money? And they all said, spend it! And
I could buy things and I could get this and toys.
And so I'm like, okay, but what else do you know about money? And, it was quiet. Someone else said they could save it. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, what else? And none of them had even ever heard the word invest. Because I said, you can invest it. They're like
what
you mean
it?
investigate? I said, no.
No, investigate?
I said, invest. They're like, no, investigator? I said, well, wait a minute, let me write it on the board.
Like kids say the darndest things.
Yeah. I was
funny.
like, invest. Like, nothing more after it, just invest. And I was like, okay, it's just a matter of having a conversation and opening up the door and, again, speaking on their level. And they get it. Because since then, that was a good 8 to 10 years ago, I've actually set up a after-school program. And the more I've been teaching, the more I'm just understanding. They just need it in a proper context on their level because they get it. They get it.
And so you've created a program separate only for the youth. And I saw you brought
kids.
a book today. Is this a financial book for kids? Jonathan and Geneva. Oh, I love this. And what's the story about?
Kids. Well, it's a story about a set of twins on an adventure to start their own business, which is the very first part of the money conversation, is to understand your God-given purpose, to be able to monetize that, to make money, to help yourself, and to benefit the world.
Wow. And so this has been like in recent years, right?
This was just a few years ago.
Oh, wow. This is amazing. So that it definitely answers my question on, so what advice do you have for parents who would like to teach their children? Just have that conversation with your kids. Include them.
Continue to start having the conversation. So if they are in kindergarten, I created a little, the school bus song. I can't think of it.
Wheels on the bus, like?
The wheels on the bus. So I created a song to help them understand what nickels, pennies, and dimes are, right? And then in that conversation, I also talk about foreign currency. So I'll show them $1 from Mexico. Money from Ghana. And so I have them look, what color is it?
How educational.
All of that. And so there is tactical learning. And so and many of the kids travel, right? And so I'm like, well, did your parents use U.S. dollars? And they're like, no, they had to. And they start going into the whole story about they went someplace and their parents, and so they're watching. And so again, it's just really a matter of
we're not thinking about that they're seeing and they understand it. That's great.
Hold on tight. Another great interview on the Chundria Show is coming right up. But first, please like the Chundria Show fan page on Facebook and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Please follow me on Instagram and Twitter using the handle @ChundriaTV. Would you like to be a guest on the Chundria Show? Are you an expert in health and wellness or love and relationships? Do you have an important inspirational message to share with the world? Well, feel free to visit the official website at www.chundriashow.com. There, you can watch video clips and learn more about the show and submit yourself to be a guest. And of course, you can keep watching the Chundria Show right here on this channel. Now, let's get back to another interview with another amazing Chundria Show guest. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey, I'm Venus Chandler. I am the author of A Silent Scream, My Story, My Truth, and you are watching The Chundria Show.
Life itself can present challenges and adversity we never expected. Sometimes that reality can leave us in dark places. Today, my special guest talks finding true strength in survival. Please welcome childhood trauma advocate, author, and life coach, Venus Chandler Sparks. Hi.
Hi, how are
read
you?
The Sparks off?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't? Okay, I'll read it. I'll read that last part. Please welcome childhood trauma advocate, author, and life coach, Venus Chandler Sparks. Welcome to the show, Venus.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm great.
You are. Yes, you are. Oh, man. You are, as a childhood trauma advocate, author, and life coach, what was your inspiration to serve and encourage others?
Well, my inspiration, I have to say, was looking at my 47-year-old mother taking her last breath. And when she took her last breath, she shed a tear. And I can remember on that day saying that's not going to be me. But what happened was it did end up being me. I suffered through a lot of depression and things like that. And but I was able to find my way out of it. So when I think about what inspires me to keep moving forward, I always think about my mother and think that I just don't want to die that way. And I don't want to die young. She was 47. So, yeah.
I understand that. So watching your mother is what inspired you to serve and help others out of dark places, because it sounds like your mom was in a dark place.
She was in a very dark place. She lost all hope, and she just gave up on the fight. She really gave up on the fight. And I'm telling you, life is something you have to fight through it, and sometimes you just get really tired. And my mother, she was just done. She was just done. So me going through what I went through all these years with the depression and the suicidal thoughts and things like that, when I was able to actually turn all of that around, now I see there's a way out. When I look back on that, I wish that I can go back and talk to her and tell her, hey, it's really light on the other side. Right. You don't have to worry about it. So I really think about that you can get in that place, and it can be deadly. So looking at that really inspires me
to not only live for yourself but to help others.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Most people can attest that if they have experienced challenges and adversity in some point in life, how do you empower people to come out of their darkness emotionally and mentally? Because this is your life's work now.
That's right. That's right.
I'm assuming that you're pouring into people everywhere you go.
Everywhere, work, church, down the street.
So what are some things that you tell people like daily or regularly? Like what are some affirmations you give people and some encouragement without even really knowing what they're going through?
Well, what I tell people is that, listen, this thing right here is called life. Nothing is guaranteed. There's so many things around every corner, and it's okay. A lot of people are they get so hung up on making mistakes or failing. This life is all about failing and making mistakes. It's what gives us character. It's how we build character. Right. It's it make us who we are today, and you just got to know that failure is a part of life. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to fail. It's okay to mess up.
Accept the mistakes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Take them so hard.
And own your stuff.
Yeah. Take it hard. Don't want to mess up.
Right.
Where do you pull your own mental and emotional strength from? And how was that pathway to get to this point? I know you said you experienced depression.
I know this is going to sound cliche. But I pull my strength from God, for real, like for real. Man has failed me each and every time. Man has held my past against me, have put me down, and has done me wrong. But God has never failed me. He's always been there. He's never held my past against me. He's always the one that's pat me on the back and say, "Girl, get out there and just do some more. You're fine.
Keep going.
Keep going." So I gotta say, for real, like that is God. It's God. And the pathway to get to where I am today, I'm gonna tell you, it wasn't easy. It was hell. It was hell. And it was like living in hell, but I made it through. And I did that by making sure that I surround myself with positive people, like-minded people, that's trying to go where I'm going. So yeah, the pathway was horrible.
Horrible.
It was horrible.
Horrible. Now you wrote a book right here. It's called A Silent Scream, My Story, My Truth, to empower women to find power in their story. Why do you have such an affinity for women? This is a beautiful cover.
Thank you. Thank you.
My Story, My Truth. Venus Chandler. Beautiful.
Yes.
Why do you have an affinity for women?
You know what? That's a great question. I believe that I have an affinity for women simply because I'm woman. I speak the language. I know how we feel.
Right.
I know what we go through on a daily basis, and the main reason why, again, is because God gave me this position. He's the one that told me this is what I had to do. It's not like I chose it. It was given to me, but I can connect with women. I can actually connect with them on an emotional level. So I really believe that's why.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. Tell me what your readers will garner from reading your story, your book. What will they walk away from, aside from obviously inspiration, but What are some of the takeaways you expected when you wrote this?
Well, when people read this book, they're going to understand that life is a journey. There is no I made it. Oh, I'm here and ta-da. And on that journey, there's so many different bumps in the road. Mm-hmm. Some are good, some are bad, some are horrible. And the ones that I wrote about in this book were horrible. And these are the ones that almost took my life. But like I tell people, I survived living in hell. I survived it. So I really believe that when people read this book and see all the things that I went through, they're going to first question themselves they're going to question how did she do that? How did she make it through that? Well, if she can make it through all of that, then I can make it through this.
Now, at your discretion, what are some of the things you went through?
I was raped, molested, abused mentally, physically. I started being sexually abused at a really young age by multiple people, and it was men and women. So, my mom, she was a really young girl when she was 14.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So of course she, trusted the world. And unfortunately her trust in the world, her kids, we suffered behind all of that. Mm-hmm. When I was really young, my mother got up one day and she just walked away and said, take care of your brother and sister. And I think I was around maybe 13 at that time.
Were you the oldest in that?
I was the oldest. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what happened.
And you were taking care of them?
I did. I tried my best to take care of them until we was found out. Back then we lived in the projects, didn't have to pay rent because your rent was free.
Right.
And food stamps came in the mail back then in a manila envelope. So I was able to, use those food stamps.
Still get the food stamps, go to the store, buy food.
Yeah, because they came right in the mail.
How long did that go on before?
For I'm going to say about 8 or 9 months.
Oh, wow.
And then my mother called out of the blue to an aunt of mine, and my mother had told her, I've been gone, and so after that, it just went crazy.
And was like,
yeah, she got involved.
We got to go get those kids, and the rest is...
Not really, but